Well, Dan, that was a bit of an emotional roller coaster. Arsenal winning very late, 2-1. We're obviously very grateful for the win, but wow, that was that was not an easy watch.
No, it was not an easy watch, bro. And we can come to the obvious. The performance in parts was very bleak, I thought. I think the final third is still a problem. And I don't know that we can get the best out of this attack at times. It really frustrates me to watch. I think Eze had glimpses, Saka had glimpses. You could even say that Gyökeres had glimpses. But I don't think as an attack we looked threatening every time we went forward. And I think that is definitely a style thing and a manager problem. However, you can't complain with 3 points today. The way that we won the game is the way that Liverpool have been doing it. And a lot of people have said that they've got lucky and that it's not going to be sustainable. I agree. And we found out yesterday that
you think it's lucky?
sustainable. In terms of Liverpool, I don't think it's sustainable to go across the season doing that.
No.
But you take
I wouldn't
it,
say
right?
it's lucky.
You take
though.
it. No, I don't. I think if you look at the stats today, if you look at how many shots we had, if you look at the two teams, I think Arsenal were the better team. Yeah. I don't think you can say that Arsenal got really lucky there. They didn't deserve to win it. They weren't, good enough in comparison to Newcastle. I didn't think Arsenal were great today. I've got to be honest. But if you can only compare it to the opposition, right? And we were questioning mentality, we were questioning manager and players, we were questioning could we get across the line. This is a massive ground, Rory. I think people underestimate this ground sometimes. And going there is not easy. We've been there, right? But when you look at it, I still do question whether we have got it to get across the line for trophies. And that was why we were questioning it. Split second, 2-1. And I think sometimes you've got to look at that in football. That's fine margins of football. Absolutely. And this is where we're at with Arsenal Football Club right now. We're at a situation where it is fine margins because we've done well to do what we're doing. Have we got it to get across the line? And that's the fine margins we're talking about, man. But for today, 3 points.
Absolutely. I think the first 15, 20 minutes or so, maybe, I thought Arsenal looked quite good. But then we had that penalty decision. I'd love to know your take on that.
I thought it was a penalty. I mean, look, I don't really understand how it's not, if I'm honest with you. Okay. And I know people were trying to make excuses for, maybe Pope has got a touch. Let's get it right. The only reason that Pope has got a touch is because Gyökeres has put the ball into his foot. That is the only reason he's got a touch on the ball. Yeah. He's taken the guy out. We saw Sanchez do it last weekend against Chelsea. It's a red card. Everyone's saying it's blatant. That one, he's taken him out, and they're saying he's won the ball. I mean, that is quite embarrassing, really. They've got it wrong. And everyone will blame Gillett because he's a Liverpool fan. He got it right. He was the one who got it right. Yeah. He said penalty. VARs are the one that said go and look at it. And they're in his ears. We think this, we think that. And this one thing I'll say about VAR really quickly, because I'm for technology and always think that with technology we should do it. Technology is not the problem here, right? The technology is you press a button and you watch it. That can't be wrong, right? What's wrong is the referee should be going to that screen and looking at it and going, have I made that right? What he doesn't need is Chaz and Dave in his ear hole saying, rah, 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 rah. What he needs to do is just watch it again and go, have I got that right? I think I have. Not, oh yeah, but hang on a minute, have you noticed this? Yeah, oh hang on, Dave wants to come in. Dave, what did you want to say to the ref? We don't need that crap. Yeah, we don't need that. Nobody in your ears. It's Stockley Park that's the issue. They're the ones. I've got no problem with the referee giving a penalty and going, just going to go and check it, lads. Go and check it and make your decision there and then. Don't have anyone in your ear rolls telling you what it is and what they think and what they think. Let him.
Would you like to see the ref show a bit more bravery, a bit more fortitude and say, well, actually, yep, you're right to ask me to look at it, to invite me to look at it again, but I'm confident in my initial decision. Do you think more referees should do that? Or at least, try and front up rather than just... Because we all know that once he gets called over to look at that, we all know there's something
you
awry
do.
there.
I don't think whenever it gets called over, it's very rare that they stick with their original decision. And I think that's the problem. It's too many cooks spoiling the broth here. It's too many people with an opinion on whether it is or isn't. The referee is just as qualified as the people in his ears. So you make the decision. You don't need these guys.
And it wasn't clear and obvious for him to rescind that decision.
No, it wasn't. And let me make this very clear. That is not... That's got nothing to do with the performance today. That incident's got nothing to do with the result today, and I don't think it should have. When you're blaming referees and saying they've gotten it wrong, we've been doing that for years, before VAR, right? Absolutely. It means you haven't played well enough in the 90 minutes. Yeah. So luckily, we don't have to talk too much on that today.
I do hear what you're saying, but I've got a slightly variant position on that, and if you hear me out, I'll just... So you're right, I'm not blaming the referee. What I would say, though, is that Arsenal, I think, they allowed that decision to get in the head a little bit.
Okay, well, I agree with you.
As soon as that happens, I think you could visibly see some of the Arsenal players. They were bothered by that. And I think it affected their levels. Previously, up to that point, they've been playing really well. I'm not going to say that they would have maintained that level of performance throughout the whole game. But to me, it was noticeable. They dropped off. They didn't seem as focused, didn't seem as concentrated. And then, of course, 10 minutes or so after, whatever, they go and concede a goal, which I think was a bit of a comedy of errors. What do you reckon?
I think you're spot on in relation to how he dropped when that penalty decision was kind of ruled off. And I think that the manager started getting agitated. He's starting to point fingers at fourth officials. The players, it's clearly echoing from the stadium that have now their 12th man that are all up for the game because there's no longer a penalty against them. And I think that affected them. I think it did. And I don't think we could get back into the game. Even though we won the game, I still don't think we had any part of the second half or after that first 20 where I thought, Arsenal are peppering the goal here. They're on top. Newcastle can't get a touch. I don't think we really had that. It was very to and fro. We had most of the ball, most of the possession, most of the shots, most of the chances. However, I don't think that we can look at Arsenal and say that was an exceptional performance and I want to see that every week because that's not sustainable. I will just say quickly as well, that is why some of us on the watch along, we don't get the audio to hear what it was like in the state. But I think that's why we were questioning the mentality of the team. Can they go somewhere like that against the poor Newcastle this time? They're not shocking, by the way. They're a good side. But they were nowhere near what they were the last couple. They've got no Alexander Isak. They've got some injuries himself. We should be going there and winning. Now we have, but it should become more comfortable than that.
What did you make of that goal, though? Because Gabriel obviously featured in two of the biggest moments in the game. Well, arguably the two biggest moments. Now that goal, okay, Mosquera shouldn't really give away a corner from that position. I thought he was at fault there. That being said, though, from the resulting corner kick, Gabriel feels a little touch in his back from Woltemade. And Gabriel, who was perhaps our physically strongest and most physically, able player, flops to the floor and presents Woltemade with what I think is a free header, yeah? Or do you see it differently?
No. I pray for Gabriel. I pray for Gabriel because I needed him today. I didn't like what I saw for the goal. I've got to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's got to be stronger. He is a strong boy. He's a strong defender. And when you're chancing looking at the referee and saying, if he scores, it don't matter because the ref will give this, that's the wrong way round. Exactly. You've got to say, don't let this defender get near me or the attacker get near me. And I think he's got it wrong there, but I love him. I've got to be honest, I love Gabby. And what we've seen today is why. Offensively, this guy is an absolute monster. And offensively and defensively from corners, I want him everywhere because he is the guy. That 90, whatever it was, minutes, they're looking at him. There's 3 players surrounding him, and he still wins that ball. Go and watch it again, people. It is incredible from Gabriel. And this is why he always gives you a chance, because he is a guy that whenever you get a free kick or a corner, whether you're needing the goal for the win or to try and get back into a game, I always have faith we're going to do something when Gabriel's on the pitch. I think now he's got to be up there with one of the top goal scorers when it comes to corners or set pieces at Arsenal, and that's in history, I think. He's got to be up there with the likes of Adams and all these guys because he's been elite when it comes to that level. So for me, Gabriel, unbelievable, and pray for Gabriel, people.
Yeah, I thought it was an unbelievable. He redeemed himself, and that's all you can ask. I mean, he was at fault for Newcastle's goal. Marino gets an equaliser in the 84th minute, and then Gabriel gets a winner. Deep into time added on at the end. Now, so we got the win, and okay, you're right, the performance wasn't stellar, but I would argue that is a seismic win in terms of Arsenal's title aspirations for the season.
It's massive. It's massive. Look, I'm not in a position where I believe that Arsenal are going to win this league. I've never believed that. I always felt that for whatever reason, we're not going to be quite good enough this season. However, we've got the squad. Have we got the mentality? We've got depth. Do we have the manager that can get us across the line? They're all question marks. When it comes to this weekend, we simply had to win. They're massive 3 points, these. Because when Chelsea drop points and Liverpool drop points and Spurs, who are around us, drop points, you've obviously got other teams like Manchester United, etc., that are dropped as well. You have to capitalise on that, yeah? So not only do you get your bragging rights to have a nice weekend because everyone else is lost, you're actually looking at the table thinking, right, that's huge now. Because we would have lost this game today, Laurie, it would have been 8 points. And that's way too much, in my opinion, this early on. I don't think Liverpool might not drop much more than 8 points the whole season if they carry on doing what they're doing, right? So I think we've got to be realistic about that. 2 points right there with them. And I've said this, if we stay 2 points until we play them again, we beat them in the Emirates, we go ahead of them. That's the mentality we've got to have now, is go ahead of them. If you can't, stick no less than 2 points behind, because then we go and win that league. So that's the way we've got to be doing it now. But the performances have got to be better for me. We've got to get something out of this attack. I've got to see us playing more free flowing. I've got to see us more expressing more flair and creativity, I think, is what I'm looking for. And Eza did that in parts today. Saka did it in parts today. But I need to see Arsenal going forward and looking threatening. And every team around going, did you see them? They looked electric. It was blistering. It was scintillating going forward. And I've done that in 22-23 season. We did that. There's a lot of rival fans. They didn't want to say it, too loudly, but they were seriously worried. I want fans of rival clubs to be worried about Arsenal and look at it seriously. And I'm not so sure with performances like that they will, but you've got to take the 3 points, man. It's massive.
Absolutely agree. One final question, very quickly now. I think it's fair to say, Dan, that you've not been the biggest advocate of Mikel Arteta. Would you give him credit today, though, for the substitutions and the way we've gone about it and getting the win so late? Or do you think that was in spite of him, not because of him?
Yeah, it's fine margins, isn't it? Because you can look at what he did good in the game, but you can also look at what he didn't do good in the game. When you take the 3 points, you have to say, well done to the team and manager. I'm not going to sit there and criticise about, because the 3 points is what matters. But if you was to ask me about the performance, I would look at the manager and I would look at the players, for sure. I think they're both today as well, because I think at times the manager could have been braver. Right. I've seen Zubimendi and Rice down the pitch for too long again. We're going for the game. We should be going to try and win this game, especially when we're 1-0 down. And people might say, yeah, but he would have lost the midfield battle. They're not coming for us. They're 1-0, they're happy. They've got their 3 points in the bag so far. You've got to come at them. You can't just sit back as well and say, we might lose the battle. Have the balls to go and confidence to go, I've got players here that can win this midfield battle. Absolutely. I've got players like Eze in the middle. Let's bring Odegaard on with him. Let's drop Rice in the 6, take Zubimendi off. I think you should have done that earlier. Marino, I wasn't even bothered about him coming on. It's not Marino thing. Get this out of your head. It ain't Mikel Marino's rubbish. He's a fine footballer, right? It's no problem with him. We saw today what he can do. But when you've got the lack of creativity with him, Marino and Zubimendi, Rice and Zubimendi that are in that midfield, we've seen it not work. And when I saw it again, I was thinking, what's happening here? I'm questioning it, right? Martinelli should have gone. I don't know how Trossard stayed on that long, if I'm honest. I don't think it was working out there for him, right? So I think I want to see a little bit more braver, attack-minded substitutions earlier from Mikel Arteta. But when it comes to the actual players today, I don't think there was many you could look at and go outstanding. Gabriel will get the plaudits because of his last-minute goal. Declan Rice covered every blade of grass. I thought defensively he was very good. And Timber, I thought, had a pretty phenomenal game and Bowman to the game as well. Other than that,
Timber was Timber.
Great. Yeah, Timber was typical performance from Timber. Right, you're correct. So today, I think that we wanted to see a little bit more as a team. Individuals are great and moments are great. We saw that today. It's won us the game, but I want to see more team for us going forward. And the attack is a big issue for Mikel Arteta. I said it before we went live that he's had 6 attackers now. I've got to see Gyökeres firing because he weren't able to get Eddie firing. He weren't able to get Aubameyang and Lacazette firing. They had to go. Obviously, you've got Jesus and Havertz still here that nobody really thinks are good enough to be on number 9. It's now all on Gyökeres. This is the chance he's got to show that out of the 6 strikers he's had at the club, he can get him firing. And in Bart's today, he looked good, but I still need to see more service for him, man.
Okay, Jan, thanks. Well said, mate.
GFN Soccer TV, with all your favourite shows in one place, is now live in the UK with Samsung TV Plus.